At $200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES.
Only on Super NES.
You're listening to the SNES broadcast with your host, Soul Blazer.
Hello, everybody. This is Super NES Podcast, episode number 180. These are your two hosts, as always. I'm Greg. He is Joe.
Hello.
And we're very glad to have you here again today for this episode. Some of you may be expecting Lufia 2, which is what we announced that we were covering last time. Don't worry, we are still covering that game. However, I wanted to do an audible, which is the appropriate designation to use in this episode, which you'll find out here in a moment. And Joe was very kind to agree to it, because I wanted to try to change things up a little bit, change things up a little bit, and pay tribute to John Madden, the legendary coach, broadcaster, and I'm not going to say creator, I'm going to say spokesman for the video game franchise that bears his name. Recently passed away at the age of 85. And so we decided to cover a John Madden game in Super NES then to pay tribute to the man. And Joe suggested Madden NFL 94 might be the best one to pick because really there was a total of six games came out in the series of the system, so we could have gone with any of the six, but yeah. we decided to specifically look at this one. We would cover highlights from other games as well too, and don't worry, we're also covering Lufia 2 that's coming out next week. So, and honestly, more time to cover an RPG is not a bad idea. So, especially how busy things have been recently, but. But anyway, yeah. So I'm a big football fan. I love sports anyway, but football is my big football is the very important sport anyway. I know Joe's not as much of a football fan as I am. You do follow and pay some. You do follow and pay some attention to you like the sport though, Joe.
Oh
right?
yeah. I mean, I'm not sitting there every Sunday watching every game or anything like that, but I've been a Raiders fan for years, since Bo Jackson back in the day. Thank you. So, Bo knows, and Bo knew I was going to be a fan for life. What can I say?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, being a Raiders fan and being disappointed every year, I don't watch as much as I used to. It's not.
I actually saw a broadcast. Yeah, I actually saw a broadcast that said that they said that Madden covered the third most. So out of the teams he covered over years as broadcaster, Raiders was number 3 on the list. Yeah, like games he covered. Yeah. So he covered a lot of Raiders games.
Yeah, he did. And I mean, being the former coach, bringing them to their glory was at Super Bowl 11. We captured that championship, and we captured a championship again in the early 80s. So, I mean, we had a good team at one point. I mean, granted, we were pretty dirty in the early 80s and used, sticky glue and everything else to, make sure that we held onto the ball. But, that's discussion for a total different time. But, yeah, I wanted to specifically talk Madden 94 because this was the first Madden that has the NFL license. So,
yes, that's true. It has one of the licenses. We're gonna get into that later on. But,
so, that was one reason why I chose this. Also, this is really one of the first ones that introduces digitized speech, and it had some elaborate animation as well. So I felt this was really fitting as far as a tribute. Sure.
Yep. Definitely. All right. So. I didn't mean to cut you off earlier.
No,
sorry.
You're good.
Did you say everything you wanted to say?
No. I mean, it's John Madden. He was a lovely man who we got to enjoy for many, many, many years. He was not only part of my childhood, but also a part of me. I don't want to say unwillingly. I can't think of the word right now, but let's just say the agonizing pain of watching the Patriots win Super Bowl after Super Bowl. His last broadcast was Brady's first and the Patriots' first Super Bowl win.
Yes.
So there is some significance there, and
Plus, you also had the pain like having to watch. Plus, you also had the pain of having to watch the infamous Tuck Bowl game before that. So
yes, and he was very biased, as far as that's concerned, and that's understandable. You know what I mean? But yeah. Sports talk, yay!
But this year you had the old mess of like John Gruden have to resign too, which is a whole nother can of worms. Following that. So I don't know. The Raiders are getting better. They have some of the good players, so hopefully they can get the coach situation clean, the coach situation figured out and continue to improve. They're getting better. So
yeah.
But they're in Las Vegas now, which is a very nice town. Good city to support them.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful stadium.
Yeah.
Passionate fan. Pretty good fan base there. It seems like so maybe. If their movie days are done, because they've gone from Oakland to LA, then back to Oakland again. But their movie days are done with, and they're actually stabilized for a while. With the coach personality should be pretty good. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. So I agree with you about John Madden. John Madden was polarizing for many people, but I think your memories of Madden will really depend heavily upon your age, because it's there really are three distinct jobs that this guy had, because his life and his career was so long. Anybody really old or old enough should probably say from the 60s and 70s to remember the coach.
You're right.
Who probably would have wanted to walk a lot more than one Super Bowl. He just had his Raiders just suddenly ran up against very good opposition during those years. I mean, this is the days before this is the days before free agency and price caps and whatnot. So the rich were rich and the have-nots were have-nots, basically, in those days. So it's not. So the NFL nowadays loves parody, because you never really know what's going to happen every Sunday. As far as the games go, that didn't exist as much in those days. So, but Madden is still. For any coach who's played 100 games or more, he still has the highest winning percentage in the history of the NFL. Yeah. So, first time as a coach, just something. And then and the second period was as a commentator, and I started exposing him as a kid. And it's my dad's a football fan. He tried to teach me football as a kid, but as a kid, I often just didn't get it. And this is something I'm sure a lot of people have said, but Madden made the game understandable. The way he presented the game, the way he talked about it. He made it very. He took a game which can be very complex. It can be hard to teach. I don't know if you ever tried to teach anybody football, but it can be. It can be kind of daunting to watch it at first. Right. But Madden, in a way, being able to take the game and simplify it in ways that many people, myself included as a kid, understood. So he allowed the game to be accessible to many people who otherwise may not have been accessible to them to begin with, because he was the one to pioneer the use of teleprompter, which is something that almost everybody uses these days. So his catchphrases, his signature words. It's very witty charm, down to earth style of speaking, all very appealing. But people, some critics have argued that it kind of got dependent upon that too much toward the end, and just kind of the rest of on his laurels. But for a long time, he really did make the game very presentable. He's also one of the first people who would actually pioneer talking to the players, the coaches, coaches in the week in the week before game, going to practices and whatnot. So his knowledge. His football knowledge was immense. He probably forgot more about football than most of us ever know in our lifetimes. And then finally we have why we're here today, the video games, because obviously the video games are very, very famous. But I mentioned this. I talked about this a little bit more in the past, several years ago, when Phil joined me for an episode on the type of games. But Electronic Arts back in 1983 had won a big football game anyway, and they approached several players like Joe Montana. When Joe Montana was already good, but the players either were not interested or already in contact with other companies at the time period. But they originally came up with the idea in 1983 to make a football game, and basically talked to John Madden about it, and because of the limitations on hardware at the time, it was not really possible to have a football game with like full 22-player teams in any detail.
Right.
I mean, I had a football game as a kid on a computer with 11 players. They use X's and O's. So, I mean, so it wasn't it wasn't graphic per se, but any kind of graphics. To recognizable players moving around in any kind of detail was more than systems at the time period could handle. So, Electronic Arts wanted to do like a 7 or 8 player or sort of 8 player game, and Madden was like, no, not interested, because to him, it had to have a full 22 players for it to be like a real 22 players like to be like a real football game. So, but anyway, Electronic Arts kept working the project on and off for like several years. The project became such a legend. The company that became known as like Hopkins Folly, because Trip Hopkins, the CEO of the company at the time, they were convinced it was never going to come out because so much time and effort spent on it. Finally, by the late 80s, you had newer computers that came out that could actually handle 16, that could actually handle 11 on 11, and Madden agreed to give his name to the game. And John Madden Football came out in 1988. The Commodore 64, Apple II, and MS-DOS, and that was not the immediate start of the franchise. The next game didn't come out until 1990, but that was the really first game that came out that actually showcased what was to come. So, and then in 1990 game became known as as like Madden Football or whatever. That came up with Super NES, Genesis, and Amiga. There was another year break after that, and then 92, the flagship actually like Madden NFL 92 came out, and the series come out a game every year since then. It's important to note that at least you're talking about like North America. The year actually refers to the year is not the release date, but it says like the release date, but it says like 1 year forward. For example, like NFL 94 covers the 93 roster, the 93 season, and came out in 93. But this is partly because of the original release order of the first games. Also partly because to build up on hype. Because many sports games do the same thing these days as well too. You have MLB 22. What was the rest of the game called?
WWE 2K20 was the last one.
Yeah.
And that reflected exactly. the 2019 roster and whatnot. So
exactly, yeah. So many sports games do that these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the franchise has become huge. The franchise definitely. A lot of people have learned to play football because of the Madden games. So. Yeah. It's commonly recognized that between like the commentary and the games, Madden has introduced many people to the games, and really was driving force in making the NFL the juggernaut that it is now. Because it's hard to remember the time when the NFL was not the biggest sport in the country. Right. Baseball was the biggest sport for a long time, and the football really didn't overtake it. You look at the 80s. Yeah. So. But yeah, definitely. So I mean, like worldwide too, Madden certainly introduced people like a whole bunch of games. Also, there are numerous players, coaches these days who got their starts as kids, like playing Madden, and how to introduce the game as well. And many coaches and players were inspired by the game. Players can be like a very, players can be honored. They actually have yourself in the game. A lot of players are big fans of the game these days. Matter of fact, I've heard interviews with some coaches. They said they actually prefer their players, Saturday night, like at the hotel before a game and whatnot, playing the game as opposed to being out, causing trouble or whatnot, right. Because at least they're playing the game, they know what they are. Mm-hmm. So, but it's debatable. Depending upon the yardstick you go by, it's debatable if Madden's the biggest franchise period, as far as like sales or money earned or whatever. Like I said, it depends on the figures you look at. But Madden NFL is one of the biggest franchises out there. Period. Everybody. This is a game that pretty much non-gamers play as well too because of what it is. Mm-hmm. So, and it's worth big money obviously these days too. It's like because like several years ago. Electronic Arts locked up the NFL contract, the inclusive contract for 10 years. They're other than ones who can only use, they're the only ones who are allowed to use team names, and player names. But figures that deal were never announced publicly. But the general consensus is that the EA paid the NFL about like $100 billion that contract. So that is a lot of money for a video game.
Yep.
But so I mean, 2K did the same thing earlier in the past with like basketball and wrestling, but we're not talking like $100 billion territory like on those licenses. So, but they and obviously the game's changed a lot over the years. It's always been Madden's always been a lot more sim and strategy than other games at the time period, such as like NFL Blitz or Tecmo Bowl or what was the Genesis series called?
Joe Montana talk football.
Yeah, or something like that.
And then there was another one too that I can't think of the name, but I mean, Madden is where it's at. The only game that came close to Madden, and in my opinion, actually exceeded it at one point, was the 2K series. That was started by Sega, and then later got the ESPN branding. And 2K5 is the pinnacle. I think that. I
remember that football game. It's very good.
Yeah, I think that's the pinnacle of football games in general. Which goes back to what you were talking about, the exclusivity deal. Like, Madden's got the NFL tied up as far as the players and whatever else. But apparently 2K's working on a football game. They've been talking about it for 2 years now. So
occasionally you do have the football games that come out. It's just like because just right now nobody else is allowed to use the actual licenses or licenses or names or names because of that.
Right.
But yeah, I mean but anyway, so and obviously and like I said, obviously the games have changed a lot over the years. But but man. The 90s, because I was in school, because I was in school like there was all the 90s, like college, mid 90s, grad school, late 90s. Madden was our bread and butter for like video games to play with friends. Yeah. Like there was like GoldenEye, there was like Madden, and there was like whatever popular game maybe at the moment, like Halo or whatever. But Madden was always there as a bread and butter. But so I mean, like always like a go-to game. A lot of fun memories just playing Madden. Like in those days, because I think Madden '93 was probably the first one I played, but I didn't run. I didn't change over exclusively to Madden until maybe about the early 2000s, pretty much. But once we moved over to the PlayStation era, but the thing is also Madden's also been recognizable for over the years because the game gets a lot of criticism for not really being changed very much anymore these days, except for a new roster, like a fresh coat of paint. But they do try to make some differences like every year. And one difference they brought in about 15 years ago was basically licensing these like up and coming bands to do music the game. Yeah. But license a song or two from them, stick them in the game, whatever, and that song plays while you're you navigate the menu screen, working your roster, whatever. Some of those bands have become pretty big because their songs are songs in the game. Got your mass coverage. So. There are some groups that definitely can say that they were helped a lot, like by Madden. So, but anyway, I think I've talked about the actual legacy and history of the games themselves. Joe, you mentioned my pick Madden NFL '94 a little bit. So do you want maybe to expand on it? Maybe your own memories like the video games?
So this is actually something that my buddy and I still talk about. So I'm pretty sure it was Madden 94. It might have been 95, but either way. It was one of the earlier games. We were over at his house playing, and we were playing each other. And I ended up sacking his quarterback. which is not easy to do in this game. The AI is really good in 94. Really, 94 through 96, the AI was pretty much the same, and they adapt very well to your gameplay. So I ended up like sacking him, and like out of nowhere, like you get speech here and there, as far as like first downs and stuff like that. But out of nowhere, like John Madden comes up, and he was like, he didn't see it, but he sure did feel it. And like since then, that's kind of been like our quote. Like whenever we see something like gnarly on a video or something, like especially on Facebook, he'll send me something and it'll always have the quote, he didn't see it but he sure did feel it. So that was kind of the ongoing legacy with this game. I'm not a play guy, I've never been wholeheartedly into sports, but yet I played football in high school, and being a you wouldn't believe it now based on my build, but I used to be a tall, lanky kid and couldn't get over 110 pounds. So there was only two things that I could do. It's either A, wide receiver, or B, I was the quarterback. I was not very fast, so I was not the wide receiver. So I ended up being the backup quarterback. And I got some gameplay and whatnot, nothing exciting. But, the coach would always tell us, if you're having issues with the play Madden, whatever year, and see how the play breaks down. See, because sometimes when you're playing from, the first person view, you can't really quite see how the whole play works out and where the players are going and where they should be and all that other stuff. Yeah. But when you're playing it in Madden, you have a camera that's up higher. You can see all that. You can see the movements. You can see, if the, linebacker is running over to the other side so that he can line up to be an audible wide receiver. And, things like that. You can see the defense and how they're lined up to, do man coverage and whatnot. And that's really what, why Madden kind of pushed for this game. He wanted it to be a teaching tool. He wanted it to be a tool that, like, not only could, future players learn how to play the game and understand plays and everything else, but it was also so coaches and current players could also use it as a tool to do the same thing.
Right. Yep. Yeah, exactly. I was going to mention this later on as far as like general overviews of the game, but since it's appropriate now, we want to touch on it. Yes, Madden is great for a teaching tool. However, there's several shocking things to me going back playing in Madden NFL games in the 90s. It's always like a current game. Because they have like Madden NFL 25. I'm sorry, 25. Yeah, I'll be okay. Because they have like NFL 22. But one of the shocking things going back to another game is like you need to know football to play this game, because like because yes, it's a teaching tool, but but you have to have the basic knowledge to get him to start playing this game, because it's like the manual is very good. The manual is very good with like a rule book. There's like the rule book in the game. The rule book in the game came out with like a cheat sheet that shows you all the plays on it and whatnot. Because but the game's not the game's not going to teach you. Modern Madden games, and this has been true for like ever since the PS1 days, pretty much, have a tutorial mode. Yeah. They actually have Madden or somebody else in the games, and okay, here's the basic plays, here's how you do this, here's how this operates, here's how this operates. Try it yourself, see how you can do it. They actually warm you to the game very slowly if you want to. I mean, you have to. You can jump right to the main game if you want to, but the recent games ever since like 2000 or so, we've gotten very good at like tutorials teaching you to help new players into the game. It's one of the reasons Madden becomes so popular with new players, and why how football becomes so popular, because it is a very good teaching tool. But so why Madden is very good to help you increase your football knowledge. You have to have football knowledge playing this game to begin with. We're talking football knowledge going into this, or you're going to be lost because it doesn't have the very good tutorials that later games like we're known for.
Absolutely.
So. But yeah, so that's very like like good point. That for sure flavor to mention on there. So, but anyway, yeah. So I also have so I also agree with you. As far as that goes, I already knew about football playing this game. I definitely did playing this game. I definitely did increase my knowledge of football. By playing the Madden games, like for sure, because the Tecmo Bowl games, football games I first played the most of, but it's pretty smooth. It's a pretty smooth transition from one franchise to over to the other for sure. So, but anyway, so anyway, yeah. So for Madden NFL '94 itself, the game like many Madden games, they get a worldwide release. The game obviously came out in North America first. This came out November 19th, 1993. Not as early as before. Most Madden games these days come out in like August. Like the games out in stores, like football season start off with. Not in these days. Japan got the game. They got the game February of '94. Not called Madden. It was called something else. The game was released in Japan without the Madden name because of like trademark reasons. Right. And then Europe got the game later on that year as well too. So the game did surprisingly get like pretty much worldwide release. Visual Concepts was one of the companies behind the actual development of this game. High Score Productions was the other. Many companies have developed the game for EA over the years, because EA has not made the game themselves in-house ever since the first, the very first game back in 1988. So, Visual Concepts was a company that's surprisingly still around today. They were founded back in. They founded back in 1998. They're best known. You probably know them, Joe. They're the company best known for making the NBA 2K and WWE 2K games for like 2K Sport. Like Take-Two Interactive. Yep. So, they were owned by Sega for a while before Take-Two bought them in 2005. So. They've also, they also had some other games over the years. Star Trek games, Clay Fighter, Super NES. So we've already talked about them before in the past. And so on and so on. But yeah. So anyway, different about this game. As I already mentioned before, this game has one license. It does not have both licenses, as Joe touched upon. For 10 years, the NFL would actually split the license up into two different licenses, and sell them and offer them different companies. One license include the rights to use the actual team names. The other license was the other license was the NFL Player Union endorsed license, which actually allowed you to use the players' names in the game. So, for example, Tecmo Bowl had the team names but not the player names. So, this is the first game to have that actually has the NFL team license. Yep. However, it did not have the Players Association license. Right. So, even though any fan knows the players because the stats and the numbers are all here. Right. The team names the player names not here. Next year in NFL '95, which is the game I would have picked, like was for me to start off with the cover. When they actually got the player names as well too. So it's actually the first time Madden had both licenses, and they kept both licenses at that point. So, having the actual team names, in this like pretty cool. So, the game advertises on the box these features. All 20 teams. Because that's all the teams that were in the NFL at the time. 30 Super Bowl teams since 1966. 12 all-time all-franchise teams over the last 50 years. 2 all-Madden teams. full NFL season, playoff Super Bowl, 8 teams in the game total altogether, including if you count regular, all-time, etc. 5-player support, like the option, like the like have the emoji tap, like that. The ability to customize audibles, bluff mode to hide your plays, which is basically like if you're playing this game head against somebody and you don't want them to know what you're doing, you can do a mode, but you can pick an option where like you move the control one way, which actually they're one way, which actually pick like a different play. So the other play does no which is like pretty cool. So 72 offensive plays, which allow 72 offensive plays, which also allow like reversing, where you like flip the player, flip the player around back to back, which sometimes make a difference, and sometimes doesn't. So and so also 360 and also 360 camera views. Like how the actual gameplay goes. So, and then they I had it written down here how many defensive plays you had to pick from as well. There aren't many defensive plays as there are offensive plays played. But now of course I can't find it. Sorry, give me a second. Anyway, so
there's 64 plays.
64 defensive plays. Okay, they're cool. So there's a couple things missing like in this game. Like I said before, there's no player names as I just mentioned before. There's no fatigue. Players don't get fatigued through the games. Players didn't start having fatigue gauges until like Madden 97. There's no you can't do a hurry up offense just by by holding on a certain button, and you can also do audibles for certain plays too if you want to, like that like that area. So I didn't mention before, however, Joe, that it is very hard to say. It is very hard to stack the quarterback because the eye being used. EA would tweak that. EA would tweak that in later years. Yeah. I actually found the best way to do that was do the middle linebacker and just like rush and hope you get one. Yeah. So it's the best way to do that. Also, line of scrimmage in this game is a little bit off. It's supposed to be the ball is the actual line of scrimmage. It's more like it's more like the front toes, like the defensive lineman is the actual line of scrimmage. So that means you actually that means you actually land somebody up neutral zone, further up close to the ball than you up the ball than should be allowed to play in real life. But they would get that. They would get that fixed like in later years. So penalties in this game are pretty rare. The two penalties that you see most often are delay a game if you take too long on offense, or move past the line of scrimmage before the snap. You can call for offsides. Legal procedure is what happens if you kick the ball out of bounds. Pass interference gets called randomly, not very often. It's like there's no rhyme or reason, but like when that shows up. So, other things this game also has. Let's see. Like I said before, the game. So there is a. There are several game modes that you pick from. Game modes that you pick from by playing this game. You have the regular game, which is play a game of your choice. You can also set the video type, whether quarter length. Madden games have always defaulted to 5 minutes of gameplay, which is obviously shorter than 15 minutes of gameplay that a real game has. However, football games run faster than the real counterparts. So so I've always up to 5 minutes length by default. It's a pretty good length. Games take football games take like 45 minutes to an hour, which is still the amount of scoring you can do in video games is like about equivalent to what you do like a real life game because of that. So I think it's like fair. It's pretty balanced. Entire season, you allows you to play an entire game. Sudden death is just basically like an overtime period contest. Whoever scores first wins. Overtime rules being different on like these days, of course, obviously. 93 playoffs. It allows you to play like 93 playoff levels at that time period because there wasn't a wild card at the like those days. Division championship and also Super Bowl championship playoff mode allows you to play the teams that played Super Bowls in the past. Franchise playoff is a playoff series involving all-star teams. Because you can franchise best players ever. And there's also the password feature because the game uses the password to save your game by opposed to battery. So there's no notable missing. There's no franchise mode. Franchise mode would have been introduced like for several years still, like the Madden game. So
they had franchise playoff mode, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, right. But yeah, because yeah, for me, half the fun of a Madden game is like franchise mode, actually like building the play. It's like actually building and improving the team from year after year after year. Like the draft, free agency, and whatnot, and also like injuries can happen also randomly, like whatnot. So I mean, injuries don't happen in this game. I don't think, right? I don't remember saying. I didn't see any injuries.
Yeah. So the injuries in this game is random, super random.
Random. Okay.
I think in the 20 plus years since this game has been out, I think I've seen injuries in this game twice. So, it doesn't happen very often, and when it does, it is quite the spectacle. So,
Oh, does it have like the
ambulance
come on
yeah.
the field? Knock over players. Yeah, I used to love that,
Yeah.
but it's so slow too to have like actually like happen. It's like but yeah. Anyway, so as Joe mentioned, this game uses the same engine that most mid '90s Super NES Madden games would have because the game was on the Genesis and the Super NES for a surprisingly long time. I mean, Madden sports games are notorious to be being some of the last games to release for console because the game is cheap to produce and also because they're popular games and you have a big console base because the console in its lifetime. Why not put it out? But because several systems such as PlayStation in the U.S., the last game come out. The last game on the system was a Madden game. So the Super NES saw Madden games come out. Super NES saw Madden games come out. There was Madden NFL 90, 90, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, and 98 all came out for Super NES. So surprisingly late, for the console. So the game's a basic like 3D look. You got their The opening comes up with like John Madden on screen with like digital photo on the digital photograph, a voice clip of him. There's not a lot of voice in this game, but the voices that are here are very good. So then you have like the main menu. Actual gameplay consists of like the split screen, the split screen like we call it play, and looking down the field. Not actually directly head on, more like a slanted 45-degree angle. You're watching the action, but there isn't 3D looks like a camera, the camera with like the ball kickoffs and like change the camera perspective, like the teams change field or whatever. commentary from Madden to start off the game, talk about the games, the team strengths, that kind of stuff. The coin toss, but the basic football game. This Madden game did not differ too much from past games. It would not differ very much as far as mechanics go, like for a while still on the console. By the way, by the Super NES games, 96, 97, 97, 98, was getting like more advanced with the advanced like more like more franchise features and that kind of stuff. More things to associate with like a current game. Like I said before, going back to play a 90s Madden game now is like jarring. It's really shocking. Like, oh my god, what is this?
I agree.
But it's like. It's not bad. Like old school football. This game's perfectly fine. But it's like so many things have changed since then. It's like, obviously the NFL, the NFL Playing Sports League evolves and changes over the years. And a lot of things are present back then. They're not present nowadays, and vice versa. So looking for things or trying to do things that you do in a modern game, they're not going to be here for that reason. So, for example, like fullbacks are still very heavily used in these days. Whereas like nowadays, very few teams, Patriots being only one of the few teams that teams still use a fullback on a regular basis. There were no many common plays that teams use nowadays didn't exist 30 years ago. There was no 4 or 5 wide receiver sets. There was no like double tight end formation. There was no like there was no wildcat. There's no like a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff you may use in modern games just not here. So and you can so the quarterback so you do have AI control, which is nice. If you don't want to like if you don't want to actually do a play, you can just keep your hand out the controller. And the AI will do it for you. But controllers are not that bad once you get the hang of it. They are pretty simple. That's the thing else that modern Madden games help you out with, because modern Madden games can be very complicated with the controls. But if you want to, modern Madden games also have a mode of present that's called one button play, where it's like it's one button. One button to snap, one button to throw, and one button to run, because it still gives you some control, but the control is a lot more simplified for you. So this game, controls are more complicated. They're not that bad to figure out what you get the hang of it. So you do get passing windows as opposed to actually like see the players in the field, which is kind of annoying to me. But but hey, like it's what it is. But it's like this also reminded me. There's a reason sports games like by the Genesis because Super NES sports games usually were just simply were not as good, because the Genesis had a faster processor, so like a lot of better fast paced more smooth flowing sports games. Madden on Super NES is fine, but the Genesis version is still better, I think, because it's like it just simply because the game is very slow and in some places to me like feels sluggish. But so I mean again part of that is coming from like a mod football game, but also it's also like the system was just slower to begin with because of the processor. Right. So anyway, yeah. So I mean, it was definitely jarring going back to so many years not playing it. What were your overall impressions of the game going back together all this time, Joe?
Man, it took me at least a quarter to kind of get back into things. So thankfully, there are some older football games that I still regularly play. So play action football being one of them, which is a very simple.
Yeah, very good.
It's a good fun game, but it's very simple as well. And so it wasn't as jarring as it would be if I had only been playing modern Madden games. Did you say that 1,000 times fast? So it's just getting to know the playbooks, know what works and what doesn't. Like I said, the AI in this was really good. Like I'm a passer. I will.
A little bit too good. It's kind of unfair in
Yes,
some
yes.
ways, I think.
So I will pass for days. I'm not gonna lie. Like if you ever try to play me online, like 98% of the time it's a passing play I'm running. So in this game, like you can get like 1 or 2 passes off, and probably break away and get some yards. Not too many, because God forbid the AI lets you get more than like 10 yards. But once you get those first couple completions, the AI knows what you're doing and will shift accordingly. So usually by that third play or third first down that I'm sitting there looking to throw again, you'll notice that like your man is double covered. If not right away, you will notice the minute the ball is snapped that he's double covered, and you're definitely not throwing to that guy again. And the same thing with like running. Like I did a couple, running plays where I just like plowed through the line. You get like 1 yard, if that.
Yeah,
but
sweeps. Sweeps again. Like I was.
No, you're
sorry,
good.
Yeah, just real quick. Touching on what I said before. A lot of plays the teams use. A lot of plays the teams use on a regular basis nowadays are very hard in this game. For example, like running back sweeps, like almost never work in this game because it's like just because just because is like too good. So frustrating some. They're frustrating some areas. There are like as you mentioned 5 or 6 plays that if you can use on a regular basis. Basically work. But so.
No, you're
sorry,
good. So like I said, I was like running through the line because basically just crash through the line. That's your best bet to get any yards. And like the most I got was like 2 yards. And like you were saying, you do like a sweep play, and like you're handing off to that guy. You're already you put yourself back by 2 or 3 yards, and the AI is there before you even make up one of those yards. It's usually the sweep play ends up in a loss every time. I don't think I've ever gained any yards out of doing a sweep play, at least through my gameplay this time around.
So there is a guide to this game like online if anybody's curious, and so the author of this game recommends the author of the game was asked the author of the game. The author of the guy was basically asking, what are the best plays in this game? Period. And he basically recommended the three best offensive plays. Obviously depending on the team, the players. But he said overall, the 3 best offensive plays are going to be the A run, which is the like the off tackle play, a short pass or short pass or screen screen pass. For example, like pro form, quick post, run, shoot, post, etc. Or a long pass, a single back play action, or shotgun. Defense, bounce defense, 4-3 cheat left, 3-4 man zone. A play that covers a pass, nickel, full zone, etc. Or a blitz, a 4-3 Mad Tiger blitz, 3-4 safety blitz. Like those 3 plays can get you on the offense defense. Can get you about 90% of the game.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was just about to go. Is like, so if you get frustrated with those routes and keep getting stuffed after a couple of plays, whatnot, this is one of those where the AI wants to come at you. It is programmed to come at you. So if you are one of those people who can get into a shotgun or a Hail Mary situation, and you can back up enough without getting tackled, the AI is going to come at you. But if you can get that ball off in time, almost every time it's going to result in a touchdown, because the AI is literally coming for that ball and coming for you as the quarterback, and they can't obviously turn around and switch on a dime, so you can get some separation.
And also because the AI is coming at you like very aggressively, safeties are pretty common in this game, which safeties almost never happen like in a real game. So, I'm just had a safety in like maybe like a third of the games I play, because the AI is coming at you that hard aggressively. So
I know that you would have rather covered 95, and I completely understand that. But like I said, I wanted to pick this one because it's the first one with the NFL license, It's like the first one that
Oh,
really
it's
had
fair. Like,
speech.
yeah.
The animation, there's some,
Not very much
not
speech,
a lot,
there is
but
some
there's
speech,
enough.
But, there's, yeah. There's like, the speech for like, the speech for like first down, the speech for like certain big plays. There's also animations every now and then. Big plays. There are big plays. There's like an insert like the crowd cheering, like bad plays. I insert them like booing, but sound effects overall in this game like pretty good. Like the menu music decent. The sound effects, the huts and the tackles, whatever. They're fine. They get the job done. So.
But yeah, I mean, definitely later games.
So.
Obviously, you got more animations, you got more speech. We got the MLPA involved, so therefore, ended up getting the names, which was great.
Right.
So I mean, everybody starts somewhere, and although we had Madden '93 before this, I think this is the start of the franchise. Is 94. I think yes, it was popular with 93, but 94 turned it up just enough to where it got people who weren't sports fans to pay attention. And then then it starts rolling down the hill, through 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, and that's when it really picks up speed. It's like,
to me, there were two really big things that happened in the Madden franchise. The Madden games, like late '90s, that really turned the juggernaut that is today. One is, of course, better technology. Once PlayStation came out and started to use videos and better, deeper gameplay of better graphics, that really did help. Second of all, it wasn't '93 that the collective bargaining agreement was agreed to, which basically which meant free agency and trading players. That allowed for franchise mode because because teams would often then change their rosters in the offseason. That opened up a whole new style of gameplay, both for real life and also for the game. Because once you can do that, then you can it actually make franchise mode a realistic thing to use.
Right.
It's just pipe dream fantasy. So for me, the combination of two things in the late '90s really turned the franchise around from being a pretty fun football game to being juggernaut it is today. So, but also kicking this game is an exercise. In this game is frustrating, to say the least, because punts do not go very far at all in this game for some reason, which is not at all like real life. But it's if you're if you're a kicker, if you're able to kick or punt the ball 50 yards, that's amazing in this game because it's and also field goals. You have to be at least within the 30-yard line to have a shot, because otherwise, and also the field goals are called when the ball is still in the air. It's that ball is gonna miss. Why are you calling it a field goal? But I got pissed off more than once because of that, because it's because that ball would not be good. But it's definitely one of the weak points of this game, unfortunately. Plus about the fact, I also, being a Patriots fan, this is not a good, this is not, this is not a good, this is not a good time period to play them because they suck this time period. But they are the worst team this game period, bar none as far as the ratings go. I looked it up, so it is a challenge playing in this game because they didn't have their worst season in the worst season in '93, but they were it was pretty bad for sure. '93 is when Bledsoe was drafted. He started playing that year, so that's when things started. That's when things started to turn around. And the team got better the following years. But but unfortunately for me, by the time the time the Patriots got good and Brady and whatnot and Belichick came aboard in 2001, I already graduated grad school. So I didn't I didn't have anybody to play with on a regular basis anymore. Unfortunately, so it's like, okay, well that sucks. But I mean, because online play really didn't become a thing until like later years. But it it is what it is. But anyway, so. But anyway, yeah. So graphics in this game are pretty good. I mean, they're not great. There is detail like the playfield and the players. The cars are still a bit rough and clashing. I thought. It can be hard. The players pretty much like all the same, which can make it hard to tell who has the ball and what. Sometimes because of that. They are kind of small icons. I think the Genesis version I think had like bigger player icons. But like I said before, the 3D camera effects that are the limited ways they're used, the shadow effects of the ball, and whatever, like pretty nice touches. So, any thoughts about the graphics or sound effects
for the time,
Joe?
They're passable. Like I said, the animations that you see when you start the game and some of the animations during the game, like those were impressive for the time. But sound, you get your grunts and your whenever you guys get hit and everything else, and it's your standard sports fare is what I'll say. You get it with all your general sports games. I don't hate it.
Right. Right. So, I guess it's a good. I guess it's a good part to, good part to transition like into closing thoughts. It's still a nice game. Whether or not anybody plays it these days, probably not, because it's like because people are nostalgic for people are definitely nostalgic for Madden games, but it's like because the games have evolved so far in recent years. It's like there's really. I really don't think there's any reason to go back to a game like this, and unless you do want to do it for nostalgic reasons, because it's not like it's not like technical games. The technical games are still regularly played and loved today by people play of all ages. Those games have appeal because they're more arcade style games compared to like the more sim nature of like the Madden games. But sim games have evolved so far over the years. It's like unless you're like a big fan of the game for some reason, there really isn't any way to go back to this. It's not the game's fault. It's just like unfortunately Madden suffered the same fate that many sports games suffered. It's very good at the time period, but like 10 years later, you're like, why would I ever play this? But because things have evolved so fast and rapidly since then. It's like, so the game itself is so solid. It's just like just because of those reasons. I can't really recommend it unless you're like very nostalgic like this particular game.
Yeah, I agree. I can't recommend this game. Just old farts like us who talk about Super Nintendo games that are playing it. Let's be fair. And I agree with you. Like Tecmo Bowl is arcadey, and that's the appeal of it. This is simulation. It was always meant to be simulation, and I almost want to say it wasn't meant to be fun. Because it was meant to be a teaching tool more than anything else. It just happened to be turned into a video game. So, I mean, if you want to play a game, go for it. Absolutely, go, pop it in, hit exhibition mode, and play one game. I recommend like 2-minute quarters. But outside of that, I mean, you know where you can get Madden. Get Madden today. Just play that.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Yes, definitely. Yep. Like for sure. So, we didn't mention this. So some of the highlights we glossed upon earlier that you want to cover here, at least to mention it. even though I think 95 introduced they introduced a few more things, there are a lot of things that this game introduced for the first time besides just the team license. This is the first game. This is the first game to allow flip play call mode, pass call mode, and bluff play options to the gameplay. So all it's pretty big. This is the very first game to use now Infinite's EA Sports plays in the game audio tag, which still used today. So this is the first Madden game that allows you to, to pause the action and rotate the screen during punts, kickouts, turnovers, rather than instantly reversing POV to upside the field.
Yeah.
It can be disorienting to players. I remember that. That can be confusing. You can also use instant replay mode to rotate the field to view plays like an angle, which is also very nice. So yeah, so I don't want to short check. I don't want to short ship this game. There's a lot this game did bring to the table new for the first time, which is very impressive. So I did want to make sure to cover all that. So this also was finally in past games. You had there were hidden unlockable teams that you had to access with access with codes. This is the first game this was the first game to do away with that. So thank God. But the pass system in this game is kind of annoying. It's a fairly long password. However, it's not that hard to put in. I mean, I don't remember any frustration with this as a kid. As a kid, so it's I think the pass system game is fine. It's not great. Obviously battery backup better, but hey, at least it's here, right? So, anyway, so. The game obviously the game sold well. It was a bestseller in North America, as Madden games usually are. Surprisingly enough, however, Mega Magazine, a big game magazine in the UK, reported back in March. Reported back in March 1994 that the game, the Madden game, which was new, the Madden 94, which was new in Britain that month, actually reached number 15 on the best-selling list in the country that year. So that's kind of surprising to hear about. Okay, tips, cheats, bugs. There's a bunch of those. So you may have run into some of those yourself, Joe. It's pretty easy to block field goals in this game, so we just have to. It's because of that line scrimmage bug I talked about. I mentioned before. Just take your fastest player, move up to the spot, and boom, and just rush in block the punt. The field goal or whatever actually. It works works both ways to block it for punts and field goals. So. There's also again that same glitch also the same glitch can also be used for defenses. Again, your best chance of blitzing the quarterback or sacking a ball carrier is just take a true fast player and just charge in. There is a bug in this game with the Hail Mary, the Hail Mary game. If you want to do a Hail Mary, reverse the play, so it's reverse Hail Mary, and for some reason, you do that play. For some reason, the AI just forgets to cover the Y player for some reason. So he should be wide open. So every time, this is definitely a cheat because every time. 99% of the time, assuming you pass the ball correctly, this is the older style play, where it's the longer you hold it, the button down, the further the ball goes. As long as you time correctly, you're always gonna be open. There's a way to get a bunch of points for cheap. So. there's also a big glitch. There's also a big glitch in this game. If this had affected the Raiders, Joe, I'm sure you would have noticed, but but because it didn't affect them, you may not have seen this. As I said before, the players are here in the sense their numbers are here and their stats are here, so you know who's who. Like you're a big football fan, it's just the names, the name's not used. For some reason, when the game came out, the entire rosters, the entire rosters like the Giants and Jets, they were flipped. For example, Phil Simms, who was the quarterback of the Jets at the time, is the quarterback of the Giants. And so instead, Boomer Esiason from the Jets is the quarterback of the Giants. So, how that happened, I have no idea. But what's debated online, and I couldn't find a definitive answer to this. Is if the the bug got fixed during production. Some sites say yes, some sites say no. So there may be at least the initial first run of the game, i.e. through the through the Christmas season '93, had this bug. Whether or not EA issued revised copy later on, I couldn't find out. Every ROM I tried to find out, every ROM I checked online had the bug. If they did release a fixed version, it must have been smaller numbers. So nobody can seem to agree whether or not fixed copies of the game exist or not. So. But also, there was a very small number of games released at launch, which were labeled limited first round editions, which were sold for a higher price because of that. I could not find any copies of those games available on eBay, so I don't know how much more extra that they demand. Probably these days, probably not that much because the only difference was packaging differences. So probably not that much. Did you play this game back in the day, Joe? You played played Genesis version of this game, correct? Do you remember the differences? Do you remember the differences between the games in your mind? Would you agree with the Genesis?
The Genesis game did feel a bit faster. But because when I was playing this for the podcast, I felt like it was sluggish compared to what I remembered. But I mean, it's such a small fraction. Like, yes, I noticed it because I obviously had played the game for a long time. But it wasn't anything like, I don't think it's game breaking or anything like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's there. It's there.
Yeah. But okay, all right. So eBay. This game obviously is commonly available on eBay. No problem picking it up if you want to. 60 copies available. 60 copies available for sale. 40 copies that recently sold. So even the power version of this game is somewhat easy to find, which confirms the fact I read earlier about how at least in Britain, the game sold fairly well. If you really want a challenge, try to find the Japanese version of the game because obviously football is not as big in Japan. The version of the game, the Japanese version of the game, is definitely the hardest to find, but. As far as the American copy of the game, it's pretty easy to find. Sports games tend to be very cheap. However, these sports games the prices of this game are actually a little bit higher than I expected. Maybe because of the fact that like it is Madden. But anyway, these prices include shipping, recent copies sold, cart price of the game sold anywhere from like $5, $18. So, I mean, $5 per cart is not bad, but considering how many sports games you can pick up these days,
I mean,
the
prices have gone up because Madden died. You know what I mean?
The pandemic and Super NES.
Super
NES prices.
And
anyway,
it's like,
I hear you. So.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant, but like, it was like disgusting. Like the minute I saw the news that Madden had passed, like. I instantly was like, oh, I wonder how this is affecting like eBay. So of course I go on and like there's people trying to sell like Madden 93, 94, 95, any year of Madden for like $30-$40 because, you know, John Madden just passed. And it all says like Madden, you know, Madden rare passed, whatever. And it's like, come on. Like, I get it. We're all trying to make a buck here. But like, you know, to try to, you know, take advantage of a situation like that is pretty sad.
Yeah, so so good point. I probably should a good point. I probably should footnote that. So I probably should footnote this. Let me finish up by saying CIB copies is still doing for like $11 for $45. At these prices, when I went online several days ago to look for prices, obviously eBay searches, obviously the search recently completed auctions goes back 90 days. So it's like, yes, it does include some sales since he passed away, but not a lot. So I think for the most part, these prices will include some uptick, maybe not. But not a huge uptick for it. So just keep that in mind. And also, CIB copies go for more anyway because I said this game does include this game did include a playbook with it as well too. So like, you know, complete copies of the game are going to go for like more money anyway. So you know, let's keep that in mind. But it wasn't. It wasn't this game, but one of the the Madden, but the 20th anniversary of Madden also had available on it one of the Genesis Madden titles available for play on it as like throwback. So, but you know, that's also a nice touch. But that's the only time this game's been re-released as far as I'm aware of. Obviously, this was not re-released at all, with the possible exception of that possible bug, the bug edition that I said I could not confirm the existence of. So, but anyway, that's the game for you. Like, you know, the Madden games are still very big are still a very big cultural and economic force in like today's market. Anybody who did not watch the Fox special on Madden that came out on Christmas Day, I highly recommend watching that as well too. It's very enjoyable. Especially, it's very ironic that Madden passed away several days after that came out. But it's available for streaming on Peacock if you want to watch it. So I highly recommend it to like any memory or fun or fondness like the Madden himself, like the games. It was very impressive to watch. So anyway, so that's Madden for you. Like I said, we may cover play action football at some point as well too, because at some point also because I remember that also. I remember that being like a very football game, but so we were not covering sports games again in the podcast like for a while, I'm sure. So with the possible exception of wrestling, which I know is very highly debatable if it is a sport or not, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
so
we'll wait till some baseball legend dies before we cover extra innings or something like that.
Right. Yeah. So.
Yeah. That's
or Ken Griffey Jr. That was a very good baseball game. The system. But I remember that.
Yep.
Super RPI Pro was also like very good. But anyway, yeah. So, thank you again for listening to the podcast as always. As I mentioned before, next time we are covering Mafia 2. So, which is trying to be a very fun RPG so far. We'll have our full thoughts on it in 2 weeks. If you have any questions via that comment suggestions, you can leave it on our Facebook page, or you can also send me an email directly. The email you can use is the SNESpodcast@yahoo.com.
You can find me on Twitter at JOESUX30, and I obviously have a very open Facebook.
Yes. Okay. So thank everybody out there for listening to us as always. Stay safe, be well, and we'll catch you again next time. Later, all.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market, but no matter how you play the game which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man.
Now you're playing with power. Deep power.